Hey everybody, how are you? Today I wanted to go over something that I get asked the most about. That is, how does memories and things from our past affect us 20, 30, 40 years later in life? For example, you got up to speak maybe in fifth grade and you fumbled and the teacher made fun of you or the kids laughed. And here it is 30 years later and you're getting tongue-tied every time you go into a meeting or you talk to your boss. It could also be a dog chased you when you were young and now you have a fear of dogs. Well, let me give you a little insight on the brain. The brain has one job, and that is to keep you alive. And when anything happens that could threaten that, or that it determines could be a threat, okay, like a dog chasing you, you know, it's going to hardwire that memory with the emotion of the adrenaline and the cortisol and everything going through your veins at that time and in your bloodstream to cause you to memorize cellularly. On a cellular level, your brain wants you to remember, hey, don't ever go near that again, it can kill you. Now, our brains are really very hardwired to interpret many things as a threat to our safety. And that goes from, thousands of years ago when it was a noise in the bushes and it was a lion. And that meant, you wouldn't even see the sunset that day. Well, things aren't like that anymore, but our brain is still hardwired to perceive many things as threats, even things as a dirty look from across the room, which I talk about in my book, Why We Are Wired to Worry, and how neuroscience can help us fix it. I explain how, especially women, man, we will hone in on somebody 30 yards away and be like, what is she looking at? Because, thousands of years ago when we were in a tribe, women, if we found other women talking about us or deciding that they didn't want us in the tribe, we would die without their protection. So what I do now with my clients is I work with them to remove these fears. And sometimes it's not just fears, it's beliefs. If you were raised in a family that always had money trouble, then you, believe it or not, may have a belief that money is always going to be hard to get, or that you don't deserve it, or why should it be you and not someone else, as if there's a limited amount of wealth and you're taking it from someone else if you get rich. We have all these beliefs hardwired from our childhood. And what I do is I break all this down with my clients in sessions. We talk about where these beliefs and fears could be hiding, and then we disrupt that neuronal connection, okay? Which means the neurons are hardwired and they've been pre-programmed from that, whatever that event was, to always believe a certain thing about a certain person or about a certain cultural issue. It could mean the differences to why you're Republican or Democrat, or why you like the Yankees and not the Mets. This stuff is all hardwired, and clients are always amazed to hear this. But the good news is we can disrupt this connection, and it's not hard to do. And what it requires is you going back to the earliest memory, and that's what I do with my clients, and we come up with what event triggered that belief. As it could be, I'll never have kids. It could be, I'll never get married. And then here we are, we're 45, and we do want to get married, and yet we can't seem to find anybody. And very often it's because we're really deep-seated, have this subconscious belief that we are not aware of, that's telling us we really don't want to be married, that somehow it could be uncomfortable or a danger. So we go back to the earliest events and we disrupt it using various techniques, from tapping to eye movements. And what it does is it allows your brain to focus on the memory or the idea, whatever it is, the belief, and then by pinging the left and right hemisphere of the brain via its sounds or eyes or tapping, it forces the brain to process that belief with the new information that you've gathered over the last 25, 30 years. And thereby you come to these epiphanies like, wait a minute, I was 6 years old when my brother threw that spider at me. I don't even have spiders in the house. Most people don't die from spider bites. And yet there's a lot of people afraid of spiders. They're not going to die from a spider bite typically. And because your brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined, when you're thinking about it in here, it's happening according to your brain. It allows it to process it as if it's happening now. And come to this new revelation with the new information you've gathered over the last 30 years. Wait a minute. I really don't need to be afraid. And this happens only when you're in the proper state of thinking. You have to be prepared for this. It's not something you want to do on your own. But there are therapists and people out there who can do this. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I can put it on I'll put it underneath the video on the YouTube site. But there's different types of therapists who do this. There are counselors, there are coaches, there are people who do tapping, there are people who do EMDR therapy specifically. And all these different things are ways for your brain to remember an event, but in present time, and have the experience be very different emotionally. And now you have the memory, but you're like, I do remember my brother throwing that spider at me, but I'm not afraid anymore. I don't feel the emotion. I'm not even nervous. And it's fascinating, it's amazing, and it can really set you free. So if you ever need more information, feel free to contact me. I do also do Skype sessions with certain individuals. Not everyone's appropriate for that. But if you want to work with someone who's in your area, just go online and look up that kind of therapist under EMDR, and you'll find somebody and you're going to change your whole life. Until next time, you take care and have an awesome day.